Welcome into the Sources Say podcast, your go-to Kentucky basketball podcast on the KSR Podcast Network, presented by Club Blue. Club Blue is the official collective partner of the University of Kentucky. I am your host, Jack Pilgrim of Kentucky Sports Radio, joined by Tyler Thompson, Steven Peake. Guys, I have a little bit of trivia.
Ooh.
When was the last time the three of us have sat in this exact order?
Sat? Yeah.
Oakland.
You know what we will not be recreating? The
Oakland.
sadness of Oakland, because guess what? We're in the second round.
Woo!
Boom.
We did it.
Survive in advance. And it wasn't even surviving. It was a blowout. It was amazing.
Of course it was.
Never a doubt, right, Jack?
Never a doubt. I definitely was not having a mental breakdown before it started. Like,
Nah.
why would anybody have nerves? I mean, it's the 14 seed. Like, you're
supposed to blow up 14.
14 seeds are they're pathetic. You can no big deal. It feels very good to be in this position. We are here on Saturday. Just wrapped up a very interesting pregame locker room setup, talking to the Illinois players, talking to the Kentucky locker room, talking to Mark Pope at the podium with Shea Pope.
Talking to Shea Pope at the podium.
That was different. That was unique. But now that the dust has settled on the 76-57 victory, I just want to get your all's takes. Just the initial reaction to the game, how it unfolded. Did anything about it surprise you? The good, the bad, the ugly that came from it, and obviously the relief now that we are able to be sitting here and not back home. I believe by now we'd probably be home at this stage.
Well, we would have left late last night.
Yeah, so the relief to still be sitting here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all getting a little tired. We may be hitting a wall, but we're still just really, really happy to be here because the alternative is way worse, as we know far too well. I think in looking back at last night's win, what keeps hitting me is the contributions from the freshmen. You think about the big runs. You had Trent Noah hit the three to spark the big 10-0 run at the end of the first half when Troy had cut it to 1. You had the big 15-0 run by Colin Chandler and Brandon Garrison that kind of pushed the game into comfortable mode where, we were all kind of panicking a little bit when Troy cut it to 6 in the second half. But then the freshmen, they stood up. And Brandon Garrison, and it just was really promising. Obviously, Otega Owe played a big part, Andrew Carr, all the usual suspects. But just to have that kind of bench contribution was huge, and I think Kentucky's going to need it tomorrow. They play a really good Illinois team. Lamont Butler still clearly not 100%. We found out after the game last night, after we did our rapid reaction, Amari Williams' back is hurting, so that's not great either. So it was, for me, the biggest takeaway both last night and thinking about it today and listening to the interviews has been the contributions from the bench.
Steven, give me your panic meter in the first half. It's a 1-point game with 3 minutes to go in the first half. Before the run, before Trent Noah's big shot, before we get the coast-to-coast Giannis Antetokounmpo slam from Amari Williams, that was awesome. But in that moment, how were those Oakland flashbacks? Because I know you had it. Because I had them sitting.
I was doing kind of the same thing. I was walking around the arena. Just kept doing laps around it. I went up and talked to you guys for a little bit because you guys were way up there. I didn't expect to see you all that high. I wanted to check out the arena. That's kind of like the first half of these games. I kind of just want to check out the arena, see what they have. They have some cool spots, some cool places to watch. It was least enjoyable experience of watching a Kentucky basketball game since Oakland, really, because just the pressure and the nightmare if it were to happen again. I just needed there to be some separation. Actually, right before that run, I went back to the media area, and I could hear the play-by-play, and you faintly hear the crowd. So I was like, okay, I think good things are happening. Check the score. Saw that we created that separation, got up by 11. And then I was able to breathe the rest of the game. And even when they cut it down in the second half, I still felt pretty good because I was noticing Troy wasn't that good of a basketball team. I mean, it got ugly. But early on, we're throwing one-handed passes, to Amari, full court passes. We're missing wide open layups. And I'm just like, can we not do this today? Can we not, please? Immense amount of relief, I think, all across Big Blue Nation, but in particular for me.
Hey, Steven, what about that ball? We talked to one of the best shooters on planet Earth yesterday, and he gave his thoughts on a ball, and I think it struck a chord with you a little bit. I think it hit a nerve that I'd love to get your thoughts here on this platform on that orange ball that Kobe Bryant has to change his form to.
I was gonna actually prepare something. I had some notes, but here's the thing. I mean, it's all over social media right now, and it's like former players. Sam Decker, saw Joe Girard III, who's played Syracuse. Like, they're all saying this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous to have a ball that acts this different. Talked to Jackson and Ainsley Almanor, and they both. I think Jackson said, I mentioned this in the last show. It's so hard you can like break your finger by like poking at it. It does bounce different. It plays different. Both teams have to use it. So is there really like, if you didn't use it through the regular season, even though Troy did, if you didn't use it through the regular season, yeah, it's not really an advantage, but it's making for bad basketball. St. John's and Arkansas shot a combined 4 for 41. 4 for 41.
That's not good.
That's 9%. And it's not just missed shots, it's the not being able to control the ball. That I swear that's why the game looked a little bit sloppy yesterday. It's not being able to finish shots around the rim. Big men are having a lot of issues with it. It's gone beyond, like, I was even laughing at myself through some of this because I'm like, okay, I know I'm kind of like feeding into this conspiracy theory, but I think I'm kind of beyond that. This needs to be fixed. This is absolutely ridiculous. It is crazy that we do not have a universal basketball. KHSAA, it doesn't matter what gym you go into, you're using the same ball. In the NBA, you're using the same ball. Everybody is. When the Bucks host the Pacers, they're using the NBA's Wilson ball. When the Pacers go to when the Bucks go to the Pacers, they're using the same ball. It's ridiculous. It's like the most fixable thing, but I just don't understand why the NCAA can't just be like, here. I don't care if it's the Evo ball. I don't. Just make it to where everybody's using it throughout the whole season. It is absolutely insane. I really, now that I'm seeing like more and more of these stats, I saw that the 2 days of the tournament was the worst 2-day stretch of shooting in college basketball since 2008. Not the tournament. In all of college basketball, the worst 2-day stretch since 2008, and it barely topped 2023, 2024, and 2022. I wonder what all those have in common. It's just crazy. The numbers are out there. We know now, and I kind of joked about it in 2023 because it was new. It was the second year that they had used the ball. Kentucky has just, and I think for Purdue fans who lost to FDU and Kentucky fans who've lost to St. Peter's and Oakland, like, we're like, how much is the ball affected? I mean, it is. It's not that like Kentucky's at a disadvantage that other teams are not. I'm just saying it is affecting the game. It 100% is. So I'm losing my mind every time I see like a new tweet from like Sam Decker said something today. He's been on this for years now. Am I crazy? Is there any? I know it's kind of been a joke, but do you guys kind of see what I'm coming from?
Hey, have you ever seen an offensive rebound on the opposing three-point line? Because when VJ Edgecombe goes up for a dunk in it, I mean, ricochets off to the moon and lands on the other side. Like, I think that's pretty problematic, if you ask me.
Yeah, what Kobe Bryant said, I have to change my shot. You have to do what? You asked him the question, he answers it. I wanted to throw something. I'm just, why? You have to change your shot a little bit. And he's being, you can tell, like none of these players want to say the ball is a problem. That's
he
why.
Went 3 for 6. To his credit, this isn't a sore loser.
Yes.
I had a 1 for 7 shooting night. I'm just here to make excuses. This was a strong shooting night for the best shooter in the world right now at this level, using his platform in that moment to say, I
had like freaking steam coming out of my ears. I was just like, are you kidding? You have to do what? You have to learn how to shoot differently in the most important games of your career, in the most important time of the season. It's ridiculous. All the stuff that we do to try to make things better for players, and that's like something you can do. That might be the easiest thing that you could do. I don't get it. I know money's involved. Phil Knight needs his third or fourth yacht, so we have to make sure that Nike schools have to use the Nike ball. They have to. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, money gets involved in it, but when it starts affecting the actual product on the court and it makes these games, I mean, a little bit unwatchable. I mean, that Arkansas St. John's game was just brutal. I know those aren't like offensive powerhouses, and like we're talking like how much it's I don't know how measurable it is, how many points. There's been studies that have been done that have showed like, it's 3 to 7 points or it's 1 to 5 points. How do you really quantify it down to like a specific number? But it is absolutely affecting the game, and they need to do something. Like, I'm beyond the point of like laughing at myself. They need to do something. They need to fix this. It's absurd. And I'm glad we can talk about it after a win, because if we talk about it after a loss, we sound like sore losers.
This is the time to have the conversation, because it's like when you complain about officiating when a game is objectively called poorly. You feel better after a win to be able to complain about the officiating. See, it didn't impact a loss, but I'm here to tell you how bad it was. It's a very similar situation. But speaking of orange and basketballs, Illinois Fighting Illini. My mind is just all over the place.
We've been working a lot. We've been writing a lot.
And Tyler, I think that there's something to be said about like how much we invest in the first game, and how knowing you don't know if tomorrow is promised. You just kind of push everything into that first one. It's like, well, if we lose, at least I gave it my all going into that one. But then it's like you win, you're like, oh man, I'm already like dead, and now we have to do the exact same thing for the next game. So I think that's been a part of it too. Is you just poured so much into Troy, and now you're like, oh, we have another one 48 hours later. But it's going to be the Fighting Illini, the Fighting Orlando Antiguas of Illinois. They were very good last night. Beat Xavier 86-73. An amazing 3-point shooting night for them. A lot of interesting storylines. Obviously, Orlando Antigua is the big one for Kentucky fans. A friend of the program, somebody that, his life has been basically consumed by Kentucky basketball or Illinois basketball for basically the last 20 years, and now he gets to, a head-to-head battle between them on college basketball's biggest stage. So that part's interesting. Will Riley, a former 5-star recruit who visited Kentucky, had a conversation with Mark Pope about potentially joining this team. Now he is on the opposing bench, and is Illinois, led the team in scoring last night, 22 points on 8 of 12 shooting, 3 of 4 from 3. He was absolutely tremendous. Big Z's brother is also on the team. So a lot of interesting storylines. What's kind of the bigger takeaway for you, Tyler, going into tomorrow night, and just kind of the matchup in particular, how Kentucky could potentially win that one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm alone in saying I didn't love how Kentucky played at parts of the game last night. It kind of feels like the Cats are limping into this. I think Mark Pope, has said it a million different ways. The injuries are still impacting the squad. I think he said on the CBS broadcast that Lamont Butler's arm is hanging on by a thread, and they duct taped it on there. And I was like, I love Pope, and I know he's prone to hyperbole, but oh, goodness. I mean, he said the team is in tatters. I mean, we had all of the, very over-the-top superlatives from Pope when it comes to bad vibes with the health of this team. But it does feel like whenever this team kind of puts in a somewhat lackluster performance, they follow it up with a really good one that you probably didn't see coming. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Today in the press conferences, he said he expects Butler to have an amazing game, a beautiful game. I'm trying to figure out what was it? The most beautiful, the most special, the most amazing game. He seemed very confident, so I'm just going to take that confidence because I kind of need it. I don't know a ton about Illinois, just what I'm reading about them, what I saw last night. They have 2 really good freshmen, projected first-round draft picks. Does anybody want to take a crack at saying the guy's name, the Kasparis Jacana? We heard the people behind us, the TV guys, practicing it for like 5 minutes, and it still didn't register in my mind. So
Kasparis J.
Yeah.
Big J.
Kasparis J.
Big J, just like us,
He came up I think 1 assist shy of a triple-double last night. He's really good. He's really, really good. Illinois seems tough, like you talked about Riley. It was interesting to hear from Big Z's little brother at the podium. They could not be more different. Big Z kind of had a very adorable little boy, vibe around him. His little brother could not. He seems like a very, very tough Croatian, very he grunts his answers, very, it was interesting to kind of see the differences between the two. So it'll be an interesting matchup. I mean, I'm a little worried about the crowd because that's the fewest amount of Kentucky fans I've seen at a first-round game in the NCAA tournament in a long, long time. And not only that, there were a ton of Illinois fans here. Like tomorrow night's, I'm afraid it's going to be like a road game. Mark Pope kind of had an interesting take on that. He's like, well, we performed pretty good in some big road games. So hopefully that's the case. Hopefully a lot of more Kentucky fans are on their way as we speak or coming up tomorrow. I don't know. I hope so. So I'm feeling okay about it. The matchup worries me a little bit. The crowd definitely worries me a little bit.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, cool. We talked to Big Z's brother, Tommy Slav, in the back, and the Arkansas St. John's game was going on literally right over his shoulder as it was wrapping up, and like one of the reporters was like, hey, your brother's playing right now. And he kind of like peeked over and checked. He said, he already fouled out. It's like, oh, at least he's keeping a close eye on it. But very, very good talent. He talked a lot about Orlando Antigua and the impact that he made to, saw what O did with Z last year at Kentucky. Built up a lot of familiarity and trust, and he basically said like it was a non-starter. Like once he made the decision to come over to the States and play college basketball, that he was going to play for Orlando Antigua, was going to play for Illinois. He was like, it really wasn't even a decision for me. That's where I wanted to go. Will Riley wasn't very, talkative about the narrative of, he did have a lot of interest in Kentucky, did seriously consider the Cats, but really was just like, conversations were fine. They were great. I respect Mark Pope. I think he's a great coach. I think he's doing a great job, but I picked the right school. I'm here for a reason. I'm excited to be here. So yeah, we didn't get a lot of the like big, massive storylines or like, bulletin board material or anything. It was just like, two good teams ready to duke it out. A lot of national praise for this game for, two high-powered offenses, scoring and, fast pace. I think, I wish we had more bulletin board material than kind of bigger picture storylines, but I think the national interest is definitely going to be there tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, excuse me, I think Kentucky advancing to the Sweet 16 would be a really, really big storyline, especially after what happened with our previous coach today. We were all kind of keeping, that's a good point. We were all kind of keeping an eye on that as it was happening. The press conferences started, I think, midway through the second half of that game. And Steven obviously talked about the shooting performances of both teams, but it was just kind of surreal seeing Cal and Rick going up against each other again, and the same thing happening that happened almost every single time at Kentucky, where Cal his guys played loose, Rick's guys played tight, and Cal still owns Rick. It's still so weird. And I think it just set off a firestorm of that whole debate in the fan base again. And it's, in my opinion, I know you asked about Illinois, and I'm totally talking about something else, but this is, I think, been on most people's minds. I don't really care that Cal beat Rick again. I think it's just further proof that both sides, both Kentucky, both Cal, are in better places now. Mm-hmm. Cal seemed happy. Ellen was crying out of joy. Megan was crying out of joy. He's found a new, he's rejuvenized. He's got a new hunger, a new life, and that's cool. I mean, I'm definitely he wouldn't have. No way. I don't think so. Now, it didn't make me super happy that they're advancing to the Sweet 16 without knowing what's going to happen with Kentucky tomorrow night, but I still wouldn't trade places. I'm much happier here with Mark Pope. I think the fan base is. Seeing him up there at the press conference today, he brought his daughter up there. It was really cool. There were some national reporters in the press conference area asking questions, and so we heard a lot of the same things we've heard all year. A couple of them asked Pope about his unrelenting positivity, and so we heard that whole spiel again about his philosophy about being positive and how important it is to him. But it never gets old to me. I mean, I think it was a good reminder of this was a good change for both sides. So I needed that a little bit, especially after I had the Arkansas St. John's game pulled up on my computer while Pope was talking. So it was nice to have that.
Steven, there is just kind of a lot of chatter about just kind of the race of, does Kentucky have to go further in the tournament than John Calipari? The head-to-head. Do you kind of view tomorrow as a must-win for that reason? Because I had this weird feeling watching the game yesterday, just getting that monkey off Mark Pope's back and winning the way they did, and it kind of felt like that was the okay, now everything beyond this considering the injuries, considering the situation, it feels like everything beyond this point is just icing on the cake. I don't have that, like, we gotta win tomorrow specifically to, make sure Cal doesn't go further. There's a kind of just a lot of talk with that with the fan base right now. Do you have that feel?
Real quick, I'm going to hit pause and hit, because this thing's been doing this weird, you don't know if you remember. I think, first of all, salute to Calipari. I've been arguing with you about whether Rick Pitino is the greatest coach of all time. I still kind of feel that way. I mean, one tournament loss, out of all of his years of coaching really doesn't change my opinion, but it also doesn't give me like the firepower that I would have had they gone to the Final Four.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let Arkansas and whatever they do, they might play Drake. I don't know what the score of that game is, but even if they play Texas Tech, that's a team that could very easily win that next game and go to
It's going to be Texas Tech.
Go to the Elite Eight, and maybe they'll play Florida. Maybe they won't. Maybe Florida will lose. Maybe they'll get upset by somebody and they go to the Final Four. Good for Cal. I mean, that would just a great story. Like you said, it wasn't going to happen at Kentucky. That was going to be a miserable year. The SEC was going to be as hard as maybe he beats Arkansas, but other than that, like the losses would have accumulated. Fans would have been frustrated. If Kentucky had a 10 seed this year, I mean, it would have been a miserable. I mean, the team would have been so tight coming into that game. Like you said, everybody benefited from this. I fully expect Mark Pope to go to Final Fours and to hang banners. Whether that happens this year, I mean, we'll see. But no, I don't think that puts any extra necessity to win tomorrow. I do want to get to a Sweet 16. I do want to know what that feels like. And like I said before, Kentucky fans, embrace the joy of going to a Sweet 16. We just, it's something now that I realize I took for granted for so many years. I mean, even those few years with Tubby and Billy G, it was like 4 years of not going to a Sweet 16. I didn't realize how much I missed it, and I didn't realize it's a great accomplishment to be one of the final 16 teams of 350 or so college basketball teams. So, I said that I wouldn't be nervous tomorrow because I was gonna use up all my nerves on Friday. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if it's icing on the cake, but I know that people will be very disappointed if they don't make it. But I think when you consider everything that's going on with this team, it does feel like getting to the Sweet 16 is a massive accomplishment, considering everything that happened and how much, how quickly they had to put this team together, all of the injuries. And I feel like we get a new injury every day. So, Walker Horn will be running point by the time we get to San Antonio. So,
hey, I like hearing it. Yeah, I don't. It's just the relief, and like there just doesn't feel like there's any pressure going into it. The pressure was all on Friday, and it's like now that we got the narrative of can Mark Pope win the big one. Once we got past all of that, now it's like, okay, now let's play ball, while also understanding that Lamont is at 70%, if we want to call it. You're missing your second leading scorer. Kirk Reese is out for the year. You have to just kind of understand the circumstances, while also just I'll be disappointed if we lose tomorrow, but it won't be disaster territory. Oakland was a disaster. St. Peter's was a disaster. Kansas State, it kind of felt like, okay, we haven't seen that level of success in so long that it's time to finally get there, and it kind of felt like a warning signal. But I think we're past the disaster point. I think that now that we've won this one, now we can just kind of play free and easy and hope that it leads to a win.
Didn't have to hear the whole offseason of Mark Pope hasn't won an NCAA tournament game. That's what I was concerned about.
It was over.
Yes, yeah, and it probably would have been. I mean, I don't think anybody would be like, Mark Pope made the joke about being fired, or whatever. I mean, no one would be there yet because, again, this team is beaten up and, crazy things happen in March, and it would just be like, well, there's your one. You get one, I guess. But, Tubby's was UAB, even though it wasn't a double-digit seed. It was, I know, but you get one of those. So that was exhale. And now, let's let's. I want to see Indianapolis so bad.
Oh, me too.
I know you guys miss it. I know you all miss it.
I hate that.
I just hope that we can have like the panic attack about the return to Indy and potentially playing Tennessee because, I mean, as much as we talk about how we can't wait to get back to a Sweet 16, is that still true if Tennessee's there? I'm going to say yeah, just because that I think would be a really good finish to this season for this team. But I really hope that this time tomorrow we're rapidly reacting about emotionally preparing for our return to Indianapolis, which is like the house of horrors for Kentucky basketball in recent years. Because bring it on. Bring on another week of angst.
Do you know the last time they won there?
Let's see. We had
They beat Louisville there in 14.
2014 Louisville, 2014 Michigan. They lost in the Champions Classic to Duke in 2018, the Zion year. I was there for that. That was a 30-point beatdown that was brutal.
Yuck.
Obviously lost in 2015. Obviously lost in 2022. 2020. What was St. Peter's of 2022?
Yeah, and then they had the Kansas or the Michigan State loss
Yeah.
as well.
Yep. Lots of losses, but
Being there in COVID was just the worst experience of my life. It was like playing in a warehouse, nobody in attendance. I hated that building. Yeah, it'd be like us, a game being played right now. Just so dumb.
But bring it on. If it means that the Cats get to go dancing, I will just wear bells to Indianapolis. I'll be so excited.
So you don't get better vibes knowing that could be playing at Lucas Oil rather than.
No, because that's where we lost to Wisconsin. That's.
But that's a decade. Like we got
I can't believe it's been 10
we
years.
got recent horrors to deal with, more so than a decade ago. But
Again, if it means Kentucky goes to the Sweet 16, we'll take Sage. We'll call the witch doctor that they met in Denver. We'll do it all. I'll be running to Indianapolis. I'll be so excited.
we got demons to exercise. We sure do. But to help Kentucky get there, hopefully, please, we would just love that opportunity. But it's going to be a lot of orange here. Like, let's just put it out there. We were looking at like 80, 70%, something like that. But we want you to help kind of close that gap ever so slightly, and you got to use our friends at SeatGeek to help them close out that gap. Look, we're looking at some of the seating options. It's a pretty penny to get in because I think people are understanding of
Illinois,
just
Iowa State. Two teams that are somewhat close to here.
it's a hot ticket, but we got some help with our friends at SeatGeek. I came through for you guys. You can use code KSR10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code KSR10. March Madness is here. You know why you're here. But there are 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. But we want you to be here and get some Big Blue chance in here. We got to make that happen. So use KSR10 to help make that happen. 10% off. So Tyler, we'll start wrapping up here. What needs to happen tomorrow for Kentucky to win, for us to, kind of turn our focus toward Indianapolis and our second weekend since 2019?
I think you gotta hit some threes. I mean, some guys stepped up that you wouldn't think would have. We had Trent Noah, Colin Chandler stepped up, hit some huge threes. I think the usual suspects like Kobe Brea, although he was 3 of 6, need to hit some. I think Amari Williams, hopefully his back's feeling better because he's got a big challenge inside. It's hard to know how much you can ask from Lamont Butler right now, but something more than 0 points would be nice. He was pretty good on defense. Just better play all around and not necessarily needing 25 bench points. That would be nice. You got to keep up with Illinois. They were hitting a lot of threes last night. They looked really good. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. Like I said, this Kentucky team has a way of stepping up and just getting really, really hot when maybe you think they won't. So hopefully tomorrow that's the case.
Steven, I want to ask you the same thing.
Okay, well, I hedged my emotions with a bet already. I went ahead and bet a little bit on Illinois, not because I'm for sure that they're going to win, but it's like I'll pay
the same thing for Troy. It's good. It's a good thing.
I will pay this much money. Basically, it's like this is what I'll pay for Kentucky to win this game. So I'm pulling for Kentucky.
$6, everyone.
Yeah.
He would pay $6 whole American dollars to watch Kentucky advance.
Yeah, I think, you mentioned Lamont Butler. He had a plus minus of plus 22 without scoring a point. So I would like to see us finish some layups. I think if Kentucky finished some of their layups against Troy, that game's not really ever in jeopardy. What were they again?
9 of 17.
9 of 17.
And so, I know some of them were contested, some of them were not. And just so finishing those, and then you can really tell Lamont on the shoulder, because that – it's just not like him, and trying to find his shot also. But again, get Kobe Brea if he can hit 4 or 5 threes. How many threes did we shoot? Because I know it was like 10 at halftime against Troy. And
26 total.
Okay, so that's
Hit 10.
There you go. So get the threes up. I didn't love this matchup when it first came out. I was heavily rooting for Texas against Xavier, because I thought Texas could potentially beat Illinois, and then we're playing a Texas team that I'm already like making plans for Indy, and now I'm like, oh man, this is good. I really think this is going to be I don't think Illinois runs away with it. The one thing I'm worried about, as I told Jack earlier today, Ohio State, I just kind of had this. What if they go ice cold from deep and it gets away from them?
Big 10 slobber knocker.
So but I could really this game's going to be we're going to be white knuckling it at the end. I mean, I really think this could be one that comes down to the last possession, and we'll see. Kentucky's been pretty good in those games throughout the season. I mean, for all the times they would lose in the last several years in these one possession, or you need a bucket, need a stop, and you couldn't do either, they've been pretty good at it. And if you got a guy that just does, can get buckets there at the end of the games like he's been able to do, I like to catch chances, but I know that I said I'm trying not to be nervous about this game, but it's too hard not to now that because I said, if you just give me one win, well, now we got it. And now I'm like, okay, I take it back. I need two now. So
next week we're going to need 3.
Yeah, it reminds me of that Tennessee-Arkansas week where we were like, well, if we just end the week with one of them, we'll be thrilled. And then the Tennessee game happens. It was like,
well, you might as well just beat Arkansas now.
You can't not beat Arkansas. It's the same vibe.
Hopefully that's not bad foreshadowing for what's going to happen, because if we're relying on the same result versus Arkansas, that didn't work out that well.
Do we think Kentucky fans will show up? I know there's a lot of people that just maybe a little scared to come and maybe just win a game first, then I'll buy a ticket. Then I'll invest my $400 per person, whatever it could be.
A lot of messages from fans saying that they were, hey, where's the KSR meetup before I'm driving up tomorrow? There was kind of this conversation of, fans wanting to save their money for Indianapolis or waiting for tomorrow rather than going to see that Troy game. I see that, but I want to see it with my own 2 eyes. The crowd scared me. It really did. And talking to the Illinois players in the locker room, they were like, I've never seen anything like it. Like, we know how passionate BBN is. You hear all the time about it's the best fan base in the world. They travel everywhere. I mean, they could have a game in Iraq and, Kentucky fans would show up. And for Illinois to outclass Kentucky in that way, it was kind of like, ooh. I hope that we get a better showing tomorrow. I hope that it's somewhat closer to a 50-50 split. I believe in BBN, but that does work.
We also, real quick, I was thinking, I think we're 0-3 in our last 3 Sunday NCAA tournament games.
How do you know that, first of all? And why would you put that out into the air?
There's a huge gap where we didn't play tournament games or didn't play very many of them, so that made it easy. But we lost to Kansas State on Sunday, lost to Auburn on Sunday, and then lost to Luke May, North Carolina on Sunday.
Steven, we're supposed to be feeling better.
Oh no, but that what I'm saying is that we're due. Okay. We're due for a Sunday. We are. I think I saw this 14-0 in the last 14 games on Fridays in the NCAA tournament. So, that streak continued. Let's end the losing streak. And
that got us to today. But what's that got to do with tomorrow? Friday's done.
Well, when is the last Sunday? Do you remember the last time they won on a Sunday in the NCAA
You're the
tournament?
only psychopath that knows things like
actually,
this.
I do know. I think it was might have been. Was it Michigan? Was that a Sunday game? Was Louisville on Friday and then Michigan on Friday or on Sunday? If not, then it was 2011 when they beat North Carolina to go to the Final Four.
I mean, those were great
Baylor.
games.
Baylor. Baylor was also on a Sunday in 2012, right?
I like the result in all those games.
There you go. So we win games on Sundays.
I hope we continue to win game, and I hope I
can feel his nerves. Like,
yeah, I hate those stats. They're just the worst.
It's
But I want a reason to have a smile on my face. The Cats are going to give me a reason to put a smile on my face. But you can have an extra smile on your face with our friends at Georgetown Periodontics and Implant Surgery. Because the madness has officially tipped off, your smile is their number one priority. They are committed to providing you with the comprehensive periodontal and implant care that you need to improve your oral health and function. Their office offers a safe and relaxing environment to ensure patients receive personalized treatment. Give them a call at 502-570-5700 or learn more at www.georgetownkyimplant.com. And we're going to do anything fun tonight in Milwaukee? Like, have we enjoyed Milwaukee? We talked about how excited we were to extend our trip and get to sightsee a little bit more, but are we going to put our money where our mouth is and actually enjoy the city?
I hope so. I'm ready for a nice sit-down dinner that isn't bar food. I mean, I love bar food as much as the next person, but we've had a lot of sports bar food the past few days. I like the area around the arena. We've come to know that pretty well. We checked out the Milwaukee Public Market this morning. That is actually a very cool place. Yeah. It's also where I think everybody in Milwaukee goes on a Saturday morning and takes their kid and their girlfriend and their best friend and their mom. But no, it was a very cool place. I actually really like this city a lot. I didn't know much about it before I came, but it's clean. It's got like a cool riverfront, a cool lakefront. Hopefully, it's not so windy tomorrow. I think isn't it supposed to like rain and snow tomorrow? So, yeah.
Is it really?
Probably.
Oh my gosh.
The weather here has just been
It's
stupid.
weird. It's very weird.
We
love the city. I will come back. To Milwaukee.
You described it as like a small Chicago.
I think that was Tyler.
Yeah, it feels like a very miniature Chicago, which we're very close to Chicago. So just like Chicago on a much smaller scale. But no, it's been pleasant. The people are nice. I'm digging it. I'll really, really like it if Kentucky wins tomorrow.
I sure will as well. Nerves are starting to set in just as they were Friday early afternoon. I was super confident, woke up Friday morning. I was like, oh man, this is great. Like, NCAA tournament's the best time of the year. And then once you get to the arena, once you start seeing the fans, you start seeing the environment, you're like, oh, people die today. The people's dreams come to an end today. Mm-hmm. And it might be our dreams. It might be us. So once that reality, because there is something to be said about this team and how enjoyable they've been. I really have enjoyed every second with just talking to these kids and learning their stories, and Tyler has done an amazing job of telling several of their stories, but I don't want it to end, and I think it's a fear of it ending more so than anything basketball related.
That's the thing. No matter what, I heard you ask, I think maybe you asked Lamont, no matter what, in a couple of weeks, this is going to be over.
At most.
And that makes me sad. Even, I mean, if, I won't be too sad if they're cutting down nets in San Antonio, but
they're cutting down nets.
But regardless, the season is ending soon, and that doesn't make me sad. I've enjoyed this group more than I've been covering, not just working for KSR, but shooting games since 2016. I have enjoyed this team by far the most out of any of those. So I don't want it to end. Let's keep this going. Let's keep it going for as long as we can.
You know who's going to be the reason why this continues? It just hit me. It just SeatGeek for sure, KSR 10. But the basketball gods have spoken to me. It's Ainsley Almanor's time.
Yes.
It just I looked at him in the locker room today, and he just had this just this feel, this anger, this. My story's not done. I'm not going to just be, the last guy off the bench. I have more of my story to tell. I just got that vibe from him, and it just spoke to me. So I'm going to call.
He's used the Wilson Evo ball all the time at FDU.
Go.
He was a part of that. Hero. He was a part of that 16-1 upset. So I'm feeling it. It's going to be Ainsley Almanor's day, and we're going to be celebrating as we make our way to Indianapolis. Please, for all that is good.
Can't wait. Bring it on.
Please, we need it. Let's get out of here. Go subscribe to KSR Plus. Make sure you're subscribed to the KSR YouTube channel. We appreciate each and every one of you, and hopefully we can continue on this fun little journey of ours in the NCAA tournament as Mark Pope kind of solidifies his legacy in year one in Lexington. For Jack Pilgrim, for Steven Peake, for Tyler Thompson, we'll see you next time.